Hello, it's Amy with the Hag Reads. I am back today with the second half of my library haul from yesterday. I will not talk about vegetarianism today, except just that one time right there that I did right there. So I have 5 physical library books and 5 digital library books that I'm going to go through really quick. Sorry. So my setup is I record this on my Android, my Galaxy Tab A tablet, sitting on an extremely old, at least 8 years laptop, which is what I watch my booktube videos on mostly. And so this is my art desk, which is why it's always such a hot mess, you see. And this is an ironing board back here with tons of art supplies and paper and all kinds of stuff. And then down on the end that you can see down there, that's just where her shit gets piled. And so it's always going to look like a mess back there. And then you can see, let's see, there, I'm pointing at it. The turquoise cart, that's my IKEA cart that you see in a lot of Pinterest videos if you ever look at like mixed media artists, or a lot of people use them to roll around like kitchen supplies, or I know somebody who has a portable, like their TBR list in one of those, and they roll it from room to room with all of their books in it. But those IKEA carts you see used for all kinds of things, and I'd love to have 3 more if I'm perfectly honest for you. They are awesome. You can roll them anywhere. I can roll it right up here next to me, and then I work on this area, and this is a door, and there's 2 bookcases on either end. But right now it's piled with so much crap. But I am working on a couple of projects. So I am reading, I am vlogging, I'm doing mixed media again. I am finally feeling more healthy than I have more energy than I have had probably in a couple of months. So I'm going to utilize it while it's there. I'm excited about that. And I do have a video coming up. I finished all of the scarves, and my son is still working on tucking in the ends, but I want to kind of do a little video of them because I think they're just fun, and I enjoyed that process. And I have some more yarn coming. I really strangled the budget this month. There's not going to be a lot of entertainment. As a matter of fact, there's going to be 0 entertainment this month outside of library books and movies we can get from the library. Because I strangled an extra $100 out of it to buy some yarn to finish up the Halloween scarves and to get a start on some of my Christmas knitting. And all of it was the Red Heart yarn. I still can't afford any of the indie yarn, although there are some beautiful colors out there that I'm dying to do. Okay, 3 minutes of nattering, the end. First book in my library haul is, I'm going to save this one to last because the 2 other ones are in the digital. First book is Fall of Night by Jonathan Maeberry, and this is the second book in the, oh goodness, Dead of Night. Dead of Night was the first one, which was in a haul just a couple of days ago, I think. Let me see here. What day was that? Dead of Night. That was on the 11th of September. Sad. But zombies. So, focusing on a different problem. So this is the second book in that series. And I really enjoyed the first book. I pointed out some tropes that I don't like in it. But overall, like, I tore through that book. So whatever negative things I felt upon completion of the book, the truth is, I couldn't read and flip the pages fast enough. I really loved it. And so I'm hoping this one will be as good. I love how it's a locker. And on the little locker tag here it says a zombie novel. So that is just fun. Let's see, and it says, and the little circle on here says, New York, the New York Times bestselling author of Patient Zero, which I thought I read, but I went and looked on Goodreads and I read the description, and I don't recall it at all. So if I read it, it was long enough ago that the story description rings 0 bells with me. So he's got several zombie series And right now, in this series, there's just the 2 books, Dead of Night, and this one is Fall of Night. And then there's a 0.5 and a 2.5, and I have no intention of reading either of those. And so I don't know how complete this will be at the end. I'm anxious to know if there's going to be a 3rd one. Let me see when this one was published. 2014, so probably not. So this may be just a duology with a couple of, you know, plus in the point whatevers. But he has, I think, 3 or 4 zombie series. And I think they all are a little bit interrelated. So I will definitely be reading more by him. I think he's an author maybe that I will probably read his entire backlist unless I get disgusted. But that's my plan for now. Let me do a quick look here just to see if there's... Okay. So I got book number 16 in the Hardy Boys. They had it at the library. And then I'll have to look and see if there are more. I may have already requested some. I typically do these in groups of 3 or 4, like I do with the Agatha Christie with I'm reading the Hercule Poirot series. I'll forget it. But I typically get 4 at a time because I can tear through these. So if I have 2 or 3 of them or 4, I might read 2 in a day and 2 the next day. Especially, I like to read these, especially after like a nonfiction book. But it's almost like a palate cleanser. It allows me to disengage from the previous book before I move on to another book. Because even for just mind candy books, I still like to think about what I've read and how it applies to my knowledge base. And, you know, pick through the ideas that I liked and I didn't like. But it gives me a chance to kind of process the previous book before I move into the next grown-up book. I've had this a couple of times now, and I swear, I'm going to read it this time. It's A Year of Living Virtuously, Weekends Off, a meditation on the search for meaning in an ordinary life by Teresa Jordan. I swear I really do want to read this. I have an uncontrollable library checkout problem. I'm sorry, but I'm not. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. I'm an unremittent book checker-outer, or an unrepentant book checker-outer. I will check out books until there's no more room left on my library card, and I don't feel bad. Last physical book before I get to the one that also goes with some in my digital. This is Dearly Devoted Dexter. This is the 2nd one in the Dexter series. And if I still feel the same way after reading this one that I did after I read the first, then I'm just going to give up the series because I'm not going to torture myself with things that don't make me happy to read. And then I'll talk about the digital books. So, number 11 in the a series of unfortunate events, The Grim Grotto by Lemony Snicket. It's in my digital library. I probably start that one tonight or tomorrow morning. After that is the Penultimate Peril, book number 12 of the same series, and the final book, The End. So we shall see. And each book is getting just a little bit bigger. I think they used to come in about, right in here for the books. And they've slowly been chunking up. Let's see how many pages this has. I can't read that. It's faint and small. Why does that have... Oh, good grief. Apparently there's another chapter 14 at the end that's about Lemony Snicket and Beatrice. God, where the hell... Okay, 324 And when I started this series, the books were coming in like 125 or 130 pages, I think. And they've slowly been creeping up, and then we're in the 200 range, and now we're finally hitting stuff in the 300 page range, which is pretty hefty for, these are not teen books, they're definitely juvenile, and I think these are middle grade readers, so that's pretty chunky for a middle grade reader, even given the spacing and margins on it. That's still a pretty chunky book. That would be a big accomplishment, I think, for a middle grade reader, something that would be impressive. But I plan on, in the next 2 or 3 days, finally finishing the series of Unfortunate Events series, and then when I get Netflix back, then I will watch the series on there, and I've heard good things about it, so I am looking forward to that. So that is all my physical books, and then I have 4 more digital books, and I can read those without my glasses. Oh, here we go. I have on my digital books, so I just showed you book number 16, A Figure in Hiding. Dun, 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 Hardy Boys. And you know what's interesting? Okay, hold on one second. Okay, so I brought over book 14, which is the one I had to buy, and I'm a little sad, you know. It's in really good shape, except that the spine has separated here. So I think I'm going to try and run some glue down there, because a couple times, you know, all it takes is one kid who's not gentle with books, and most kids aren't, and this will start to separate from the spine, because all that's holding it in are these glued in end papers right now. So I think I may try to fix that coming up here real soon. But what I wanted to say was, you can't really tell on the digital book because I'm not close enough to it, and it doesn't magnify enough. But look at the boys on the cover. Now those do look like adventurous boys, but I want to remind you that Joe Hardy and Frank Hardy are 17 and 18 years old respectively. Those boys look like they're 12 years old. Now, this boy looks like he might be 14, and isn't he just Captain Clean Cut right there? But he still does not look like a 17 or 18-year-old. And I think Frank is the older one, is the dark-haired one, and Joe, the 17-year-old, is the blonde-haired one, if I remember correctly. But I've been noticing on the cover of all these books, and even their friends, that they don't look like the age they're portrayed as. Let me see if I can find an illustration in here that is... I don't know that they're going to come off very... Bear with me, I'm getting there. Let's see. I'm trying to find one that's mostly just the boys, so that you can get a... Okay, here we go. Joe chuckled. We'd better rescue Chet before he folds up. So the boy on the ground doing the push-ups is Chet. The dark-haired one is Frank, and the blonde-haired one, and this is just a line drawing, is Joe. Now those look more like 17 or 18-year-olds to me than the picture on the cover. And I'm wondering, because these are geared at middle grade readers, so what would these be, like 8 through 12 or 14 or so? The age range that these would be. So maybe on the cover they're trying to, and look, there's an alligator back there. Oh no! I've read this one, it was pretty good. They're trying to appeal to the younger audience through the cover by not showing adult-looking people. But when I got this book in the mail, this is when it really struck me, and I thought about the other covers. On the cover, they never look the age that they're portrayed as in the books, and I wonder if that's why. If they're worried that if they portray them as older-looking, that the age range they're geared for might not be as interested in reading them. Now I have nowhere to put this. So that's interesting. Sidetrack, sorry. So I have book 17 in my digital queue, which goes with book 16 here. And that's A Secret Warning. And they're in a boat on a harbor, and there's a big flashing red light. And then there's something going on in the background, but it's too tiny for me to be able to tell what it is. The next book I have in my digital queue is The Spiritualist by Megan Chance, and this book was recommended to me. Let me see if I can get a brief description here. You didn't see me do that with a book. Never, I would never do that with a book. Oh, here we go. On a cold January morning in 1856, Evelyn Atherton's husband is found murdered after attending an exclusive seance. Dun, dun, dun. And I'm not going to go any further than that. That's really, because that's about as far as I read, and I went, seance, murder, I'm in. It's a historical novel. The other two books I have are both by Richard Lemon, and I have been, or I was previously, I don't think I've read a Richard Lemon book in over a year, and it may be as long as 2 years. But I was previously reading through his back catalog because he reminds me, his books remind me a little bit of cheesy 80s horror. And I would have graduated had I finished high school. I got my GED. I would have graduated in 1988. And I would have been 17. So around that time. So the cheesy horror that was, with the embossed covers and the cutouts and all of that. That's like my nostalgia for when I was reading. I started reading those probably advanced middle grade and straight through into my early 20s. That kind of horror really had a strong draw for me. If it was a bad, cheesy horror novel, I was all over it. And I'm kind of getting, I guess, back to my roots a little bit with that. But I was doing something, and a Richard Lemon book came up when I was looking for something else. And I thought, gosh, I haven't picked up a Richard Lemon book in a long time. And I put in a request, and they finally came through. Two of them did into I've checked them out digitally. And the digital library has quite a few more, and then I'll check and see if my library has any physical copies of other books. But I thought, now that I found it, maybe I'll just start reading through his backlist, and, for the nostalgia of it, and because I just enjoy a cheesy horror novel. It's my mind candy book. It's the equivalent of somebody else. For me, it's the equivalent of watching a TV show. I like it. They're fun. You can pick them apart. You can go, oh my God, I can't even believe this was a thing. But I find them wholly enjoying, usually. There are occasional times when I don't. But the ones that I have checked out digitally are The Woods Are Dark and The Cellar. And I remember The Cellar kind of being a big deal. But since I requested them, and it's been a few weeks, and now they're available, I have seen at least 4 other videos of people talking about Richard Lemon books, and now I feel like I'm jumping on a bandwagon that I had no intention of jumping on. But, if we're all hanging out on the Richard Lemon horror bandwagon, I'm glad that there are some other booktubers on there with me. And so that's kind of fun. So those are the books I have checked out and which I will be reading coming up. I swear I'll read The Year of Living Virtuously this time. I'm embarrassed. Think about it. 6 renewals, and they're I think 3-week checkout periods, and this is the 3rd time. So that is a little bit embarrassing all by itself. And that is all I have for today. I do have a small book haul, an actual haul of books I have purchased, which will be coming up maybe in the next 5 days. I'll get around to gathering up all the books because they kind of get set all over the house. And I'll have another small library haul in a couple of days. There's a couple things to pick up at the library, but I'm waiting for something is pending, and that means they're getting ready to ship it. So I figure rather than going and getting those 2 and then having to go back a day later and pick up another one, I'm just going to wait for that one to come in. So within 3 days, I'll have another tiny library haul. I think it's maybe like 4 or 5 books. Some of them will be cookbooks, so it's not like I'm, over checking out books, because I never do that. No. Thank you for stopping by and watching my video. If you have watched all the way to the end, thank you. Happy whatever time of day it is for you. I hope that you are having an amazing week, and that your reading is going splendidly, that you have found books that inspire and entertain you. I will see you next time. Bye!